I'm having a major case of deja vu today because I'm going to be reviewing the new Panasonic ZS300, but this is very similar to its predecessor, the ZS200, and I thought, well, man, it's been 8 years since that camera came out. We reviewed that camera for TCS TV way back in the day, and I thought, well, if we've got a very similar camera, why not make a very similar video? So I actually found the same coat that I had back then. It's a little tight around the midsection, similar shirt. We're even on the same part of town. We're gonna explore the same area. It's even the same time of year. So do we have a camera today exactly the same as the one 8 years ago? No, not exactly. Are we gonna recreate the video from 8 years ago exactly the same? No, not quite, but it should be a fun one. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll have a sense of deja vu as well, though. I'm Chris Niccolls. This is PetaPixel. Let's find this out together. B&H is a wonderful place to get pretty much anything you can think of when it comes to photographic gear, videographic gear, and professional audio equipment. They've got a huge store with tons of stock, and right now there's a really great way to buy stuff at B&H. Just get one of their Payboo credit cards because this gives you two big advantages. So first, you can buy all of your gear and save the sales tax. B&H will refund the sales tax back to you when you make your purchases. To check your eligibility for Save the Tax benefits, visit bhphoto.com/payboo, or you have another option. You can finance expensive purchases over 6 months or a year using your B&H Payboo credit card, and this just makes it a little bit easier to spread those costs over a longer period of time. But as always, remember that this is a credit card, so you want to use it responsibly, and you do have to get approved for this card. So to learn more, go to bhphoto.com/payboo. So look into getting your own B&H Payboo credit card today. It is provided to you by Comenity Capital Bank. So how about a little bit of a history lesson here? 10 years ago, I reviewed the ZS100. I had baby Madeline strapped to my chest for that. She's now a tween. Things have definitely changed. And that was a really interesting camera because it had this Type 1 sensor with a 10 times optical zoom. Now, when the ZS200 came out a couple years later, this really stirred things up because this increased the zoom range even further to a 24 to 360 millimeter full frame equivalent. Now that we have the ZS300, well, it's a lot of the same. We have that exact same lens, an image stabilized 24 to 360, and I'm going to do a very similar thing that I did last time. I'm going to explore Chinatown here in downtown, just play with it for some street photography, but this does still have a lot of appeal as a travel camera, as a companion pocket camera, and now that smartphones have become so prevalent, this 8 to 10 years later, this might actually have a lot of potential to outdo those smartphones when it comes to those telephoto ranges. We're going to test that today as well. Okay, so what makes the ZS300 unique is this huge zoom range, and even this many years later, competition really hasn't picked up on this. I mean, basically, back in the day, it was still a situation of if you had a Type 1 sensor, it was either a very small compact lens or it was a really big bridge-style camera, About the only comparison that we can make nowadays is the Sony RX100 and that's a great camera, expensive though, and it only has like an 8 times zoom, so still nothing kind of reaches this 15 times zoom camera. That being said, when we got the ZS300 and I tested it out, I was hoping we were going to see a lot of meaningful improvements from the ZS200. I mean, it has been 8 years. Maybe better processing power, maybe better battery life, phase detect autofocus, maybe some sort of image stacking capabilities. But as I quickly found, it's essentially the same camera. I mean, about the only thing I can see different is, of course, a changeover USB-C as a way to connect the camera and charge it. We still can't run it off of USB-C power connected though. You can only charge or download, that's it. And we get one new color effect. We get Leica monochrome, which I love, but that's really not a big change. Everything else is the same. Same DFD autofocus, same menu system. In fact, what we really have as a major change is one big glaring omission, which we're going to talk about shortly. So it was on this exact same spot, on this exact same bridge, that I was talking about some of the functionality of the camera, and I'm getting major deja vu, not only because of the location, but because none of these functions have changed or improved. And honestly, yeah, that's a little bit disappointing. I mean, I was talking about how the on-off time isn't great, for a street shooting situation. I mean, there we go, now it's ready to shoot. So yeah, you might want to leave it in a sleep mode. The zoom itself is still quite ponderous. There it goes, 360, and then back to 24. Takes a little bit of time. I mean, yeah, okay, that's a point and shoot camera. I do like that I can still have it turn on and go to the last zoom range that I was using, so that is certainly handy. We have the same mechanical shutter up to 2,000th of a second, electronic shutter up to 16,000th of a second. So, you know, if it does get really bright and you can't sustain that 2,000th of a second, you can go to the electronic shutter. This sensor's not bad, this Type 1 20 megapixel backside illuminated sensor, but it does have a little bit of rolling shutter if you're using electronic shutter, so keep that in mind. I do still like that I can set the AF/AE lock button to an autofocus on. That lets me back button focus, so that's nice in a more sports and street shooting kind of situation. I can just leave the camera continuous. My thumb is still constantly moving the autofocus to the top right of the screen. I'm probably going to disable the touchscreen for that very reason. I mean, a lot of this is exactly the same thing that we had before. This will all look better in black and white. Okay, so last time I was on this bridge, I was talking about how great it is to have a 24 to 360 millimeter. You can see the difference in these two shots to see the extremes. And you know, there's more to it than just having that great zoom range. This camera is also designed to be quite comfortable to hold in one hand with a one-handed grip. It is image stabilized quite well, so actually I can pull off some pretty nice shots even at that extreme telephoto. But what this lens does not do is give us a fast aperture. f3.3 at the wide angle and f6.4 at the telephoto range. Yeah, that's pretty slow, obviously, especially at the telephoto range. You know, you're gonna have problems with, you know, maybe having to raise the ISO higher if the light's not ideal. And on top of that, of course, we're not gonna get tons of shallow depth of field. I mean, you generally tend to get a lot in focus unless you're shooting at that very extreme telephoto. But I mean, I still think that's a fantastic compromise to make to keep the camera this small and pocketable. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we have the exact same lens assembly that we had before in the ZS200. And it was a pretty good lens, but it did have some issues. So it was definitely sharper at the 24 millimeter angle, a little bit softer at the 360 millimeter angle, and I wanted to test that again. I mean, this camera may not have come very far in the last 8 years, but we sure as have, because last time I think I shot a bench, but this time we actually have our test charts and we have proper lighting. And so this is where I'm going to use my twin Westcott L120B Cobb lights. These are perfect for test charts because I'm getting proper color rendition, no flickering, even when I'm using electronic shutters at faster speeds. I'm getting nice soft even light by using the rapid box switch 2x3s on here. And look, I can dial them down, I can dial them up, I can change the color temperature if I want to. So they're fantastic, not only for test charts, but also for portrait and studio work. We use them all the time and we love them. And if you want to check them out, go to fjwestcott.com or click the link in the description below. This is one of the main reasons why they are PetaPixel's preferred lighting gear partner. But what about the sharpness results, Chris? Okay, well, let's get to it. So we're basically seeing the same thing as before. Looking at the 24 millimeter wide angle here on the test chart, in the center, really nice sharp detail, even wide open at f3.3. The corners do go a little bit softer, but overall for point and shoot, this is really good. And when I shoot at the extreme telephoto 360 millimeter range, we're seeing a very similar thing. Now I'm shooting this at the maximum widest aperture, f6.4. I'm not really going any tighter than that because this lens stops out at f8. There's really not much room to go. And you can see here we're getting a little bit of softness in the center compared to the wide angle range. And again, the corners kind of fall out a little bit. So for what it does, I still think this is acceptable image quality, but we're not seeing any improvement from the lens 8 years ago. All right, you knew it was coming. It's time. I hate this. You know I hate this. The ZS300, just like the ZS99, we reviewed that, a rebirth of a point and shoot, but no EVF. They took it off, and that's one of the best features on these cameras, and they take it off, and I just don't like it. And you know, we've heard a lot of explanations from a lot of the manufacturers. I'm not just gonna single Panasonic out. Like, they always say things like, oh, they're too expensive to source, or smartphone crowds don't care about EVFs. I don't think that gives those people enough credit. I think they would absolutely love them if they had them, but you're not gonna get it here. And it just looks so sad, this vacuous space now where something should obviously belong and there's nothing there. And it really, to me, does harm the utility of the camera, especially when you're talking about these big zoom ranges. Okay, so there's one thing that I'm happy hasn't changed, and that's the handling on the ZS300, because we're actually getting really good controls on this for a compact camera. First off though, the grip. I like that I've got a rubberized grip in the front and for my thumb on the back. It's very, very comfortable to hold. I don't feel like I'm gonna drop it. We get a nice command dial up there right where my thumb is, but also one around the lens ring. So this is great. You can easily adjust manual exposure without having to go to the menu or use the joypad on the back. Everything can be customized, the record button, the AF, AE lock, all the buttons on the back, I can change that. I even do get a little bit of a pop-up flash there, which is nice, and that's gonna give people that classic xenon bulb look that they really enjoy now in the point and shoot market. Otherwise, I just have a single SD card slot, and this uses the venerable Panasonic BLG10 PP battery, giving me about 360 shots on a full charge. And overall, this camera only weighs about 370 grams, so it's easy to fit in a pocket and take anywhere. Okay guys, so the sun's breaking out here a little bit, and it is causing me issues with trying to evaluate and compose my shots when all I have is this back panel and no EVF to go with it. Okay, but I know I'm complaining about that, but you know what? There is actually an improvement here when it comes to the back panel. It still doesn't rotate or anything, but the ZS200 was a 1.24 million dot LCD back panel. This is a 1.84 million dot back panel. So we're getting more resolution. I've got the brightness cranked as high as I can, but it doesn't rotate or anything like that. I'm getting a bit of glare, and again, I would do anything just to have an EVF to be able to shoot with. Not to mention the fact that with an extreme telephoto like this, being forced to hold the camera like this is not as stable as being able to bring it up to my eye and shoot like this. Okay, so we got a real world example here. I want to test the telephoto extreme range here versus a smartphone, because we've got some seagulls just across the river here. This is a classic example of where you might want to shoot with a long telephoto lens. So let's zoom out here. We're going to get these birds locked in, focused on, take our shot, good shutter speed. And I mean, yeah, like the result I'm getting is decent. Like I get good detail here, nice exposure, nothing overexposed. I can actually see little details like seagull's eyes and beak definition. So now let's take the iPhone out and let's do a similar thing. Now, a lot of the modern smartphones like the Samsung, the iPhone, the Google, they're all gonna have a similar optical telephoto range. And in order to get anything that matches what the Panasonic can do, I then have to zoom into an extreme level. And yeah, that's exactly what I expected. It looks like gull in comparison. I mean, everything looks soft. We're not really getting any fine detail. You can see there's a lot of just overall softening and processing going on here. Overall, yeah, the Panasonic does have a distinct advantage when it comes to telephoto shooting over a smartphone. So the camera may not have made much progress, but that sign certainly has, as you can see. This is the site of one of my greatest failures. This sign used to be no parking and had a tow truck with a Pontiac Fiero, which I knew was a Pontiac Fiero, but I called it a Ford Fiero in the episode. Awful. Then it started to degrade, so it became, you can't park an 80s sports car there. Now, clearly you can park. I mean, it's got just a white P, and look, somebody is. So for the street photography that I'm doing today, I'm finding that the back button autofocus, leaving it continuous and just moving the camera around is working pretty well. I mean, this isn't really going to track moving subjects very effectively or anything like that, but certainly I could set a wide area and have it follow something fairly well. But you know, a lot of people are going to want to use this for things like kids sports or wildlife, and we're still in the same position that we were in 8 years ago. You know, 8 years ago I said, well, the DFD autofocus, not bad, because that was 8 years ago, but now you definitely feel it. It's just not really able to keep up. Like even trying to shoot this magpie up close, it's moving its head around, it's moving around. The continuous autofocus is trying to follow, but it's always just a little bit out, unfortunately. So, you know, if you've got stationary subjects at a distance or fairly slow moving wildlife and stuff, sure, but don't expect this to perform any miracles when it comes to kids sports or, you know, serious action. Okay, Jordan, we're vlogging right now. Why are you so close to me?
Well, the reason, Chris, is this still has a massive crop when you're recording 4K. Gives you a 36mm wide angle.
Okay. And I mean, I don't even know if we're framed properly because I can't rotate the screen or anything. But hopefully the stabilization's working well. I have no idea.
I'm sure it's a little bouncy, but the other thing too is there's no mic jack, so this ambient audio is probably going to be...
I'm sure it sounds great.
Pretty brutal out here. I mean, nothing has really changed with this camera for video in 8 years, but what has changed is your smartphone can now record really capable video with a far better interface than what this has. It's only going to be good for shooting telephoto video. It's the only thing it can really do well.
Yuck. You're going to make me go all the way up there and do the wrap up out of breath, eh?
That'd be great.
You. So as you can see, we're at the middle of the stairs instead of the top because that's what good couples do. They compromise. And you know, having this experience today, it has felt very familiar to what we did 8 years ago. Obviously, we tried to recreate a lot of the video on purpose, but also the camera experience really hasn't changed. And so my thoughts from 8 years ago haven't changed much either. This is still a really high-end point-and-shoot camera, and I like the look of it, the body design, the controls, the images. I like the images I'm getting, and that 24 to 360mm range is super useful. But not having the EVF is a huge loss for me, and it's driving me crazy, and it really has detracted from my enjoyment of this camera today. I mean, certainly on a bright sunny day like today, it's still not ideal to look at the panel. The panel doesn't rotate or move, and a little bit more resolution isn't really going to make that big a difference. Plus, my eyes aren't getting any better, and I really want to have the stability and the ability to set a diopter to bring this up to my eye, and so I really am not enjoying this. It actually makes me want to have the experience I had 8 years ago because I want to have the old camera back, right? Otherwise as well, the changes that we do have in the camera are incredibly minor. This is effectively the same system. I'd go and buy a ZS200 to be honest with you. Now looking online, yeah, the prices on those are a little bit inflated, but pretty much the same as one of these brand new. To Panasonic's credit, by taking out the EVF, they've been able to keep the cost fairly close. It's only $100 more expensive in 8 years, but I think people would gladly pay a little bit more money to get the utility of that EVF, especially considering how expensive ZS200s are on the used market. And I do feel like it's a bit of a shame because, you know, the Sony RX100 that I talked about earlier, I mean, it's very expensive, but it's a premium experience. People are still enjoying that. And I feel like Panasonic still has the uniqueness of that even longer zoom range. They could have kept the EVF on this and made this a very premium compact. As it is now, I can't help feel a bit like I'm being cheated a little bit. But again, you guys let me know the feedback below. Is an EVF really that important? Am I just an old man screaming at the sky? I hope you guys at least enjoyed this throwback to an experience that we had 8 years ago. That part of it was fun for me for sure. The camera itself, maybe not so much. We appreciate you guys, and hopefully you'll join us on the PetaPixel podcast. It's on this exact same channel, or you can hear it on all your favorite podcasting apps. As well, do consider getting a PetaPixel.com membership. This really helps us out to make our show continue and grow. $3 a month, $30 a year for all of the benefits you see here. And there's still time. Go to the Harper Finch website. Check out their t-shirts because we still have the Harper Finch PetaPixel collab where you can get our merch with our custom-made logos. Loca, Shoot on Location, you cowards, Bilf Hunters. You guys will love it. You should definitely check it out. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.